have access to those forms of revenue. We have a greenbelt. I don't know if people realize how much that costs us. It's a nice thing to have. The people say they want to keep it. Originally, we used to get a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 in putting our water and sewer lines and roads through the greenbelt, federal, provincial, municipal. We shared it. We don't get that anymore. And we have to pay 100% of the cost of anything that goes through the greenbelt, 100% of the maintenance of those. We have buses that go long distances because they're not picking up any fares, and that's an additional cost that Ottawa has that no other city in Canada has. We have a very large rural area. And because they're in a city, there's an expectation that their services of roads and various other things will be more like the city. So we've been spending a lot of money and paving rural roads and upgrading them and things of that nature. That's a cost that the other cities we're comparing to don't have to bear. So all of those have to be factored in. It does increase our costs. The province is starting to upload the things that were downloaded on us, those social programs, social housing, social services, childcare, all of those, but it's a very gradual process, and my colleague will talk more about that. In the staffing requirements and what's happened over time, I'm not a fan of amalgamation, I can tell you that up front, because I have found when I did a study of this, because Canada was an amalgamation. It cost more to run Canada than it did before, but there were some benefits that came with it. 100% of amalgamations in North America, Canada and the US, end up costing more. And the reason for that is because, I'll give you a little quick example. This was 4 little townships. Each had a person look after their roads, 4 people. When they amalgamated, they still had those 4 people look after the roads, but because it's not one municipality, you have to have somebody to manage them. And that's what happens with the amalgamations that increases the cost. It's the management that's required because of the size. And that's happened to Ottawa, despite the fact that they've tried to make efficiency. And what they did, just to give you an idea, at time of amalgamation, we had 13,001.07 full-time equivalents. And the numbers come in because a lot of people are part-time. Under amalgamation savings of positions we didn't have to have, 401.7 were cut, 581.9 have been cut in administration through efficiency. So that, in fact, general government costs in Ottawa from the beginning till now have only gone up 2% in that whole period of time. But we've had a lot of increases in fire, police, all of these are staff positions. We took over ambulance services, staffing positions. We run a very labor-intensive operation, and that's where the costs are. And I think my time is up, so I'll stop there. You can ask questions about this later.
Thank you, Councillor. And now for the ota7 group, Barry, it's your turn.
Okay. Well, first I'll start by saying that you referenced some comments about O'Brien, new comments or ideas. And I think a lot of us can understand that if you're facing jail time, you know, if people trump up charges against you, and all of a sudden you see your life's work about to disappear, you know, that might affect, you know, some of your opinions. So I think the real O'Brien came in and pointed to 1,600 admin jobs that he said could be cut, which would have generated savings of over $200 million. And Council did not act. What Council did was to stonewall and block him, and you know, that just led to frustration. So really, the buck stops with Council. They have opposed zero means zero. They have opposed these hard decisions that need to be made, and that's why it hasn't happened. And now I'll go to my speech. We were actually formed in response to what some people feel is legal extortion. Council was elected as a taxpayer advocate, but they have refused to act. Post-amalgamation spending facts show that not only have salaries jumped 4 times faster than the growth of FTEs, but benefits have grown 6 times faster. And quite frankly, we think this is an immoral spending approach. The Auditor General said that there were 39 unbudgeted FTEs in the Employee Services branch. Has anyone been held accountable for disobeying the will of Council? This is what Council was elected to do. You know, we're wondering, is this legal extortion by HR, labor relations, legal, union, management, council? Just go through some quotes by the Auditor General. Regular and ongoing analysis of overtime expenditures. There was no regular ongoing analysis of overtime expenditures. We found a lack of accountability in the management ranks. Disciplining managers is rare. The message is managers can behave with impunity. Some employees benefit from retroactivity for periods longer than when they perform the reclassified function. Employees who do not have the capacity to perform at the higher level yet, they automatically receive the new higher rate of pay. 724 employees had taken a total of 5,000 plus days of uncertified sick leave. 1,700 employees carried over annual leave in excess of their entitlement. Tendency or practice to not to apply the probationary period for new hires. Severance pay considered to be excessive. These are all Auditor General's comments. Internal issues arise, but there's an unwillingness by management to do anything until it is too late. I guess Glenn Karen learned that the hard way. Binding arbitration is not the best means of controlling one's destiny. It is at best a follow-the-pack strategy. Given the challenges within the city budget, can the city continue to approach collective bargaining on such a narrow and short-term basis? End quote. These are all comments from the Auditor General. Now, does Council receive reports of these types of issues? You know, will this $17 million for bus announcements is a violation of the collective agreement which they signed? And we have emails where councillors have said, oh, we can't freeze their wages because it's a legally enforced document. Then why can't the council enforce the legal agreement that they have to announce the buses? Why are we paying the fines? Are they looking into, should Siemens be allowed to bid on future contracts? Were city staff rushing out contracts during the time of the election? Can we have a public inquiry into the financial benefits of a bus or rail system? I mean, council is meant to be the one doing this taxpayer advocate job. And we're not seeing that sort of, financial management is my #1 priority. We're not seeing that. In 6 years, the net worth of the city has plummeted by $450 million. This is runaway spending, legal extortion type compensation growth. In a tax and utility charges survey, why are we last in Canada? Why are we last in Ontario? We're paying 50% above the average. And you all have a copy of the statistics that we refer to, but for time we'll just move along. According to the Frontier Institute, we were last in Ontario when you consider net financial assets, liabilities, and long-term debt. And Maclean's magazine gave us an F in the residential burden on Penwell. We have the second worst record in Canada on staff levels. CFIB analysis showed that Ottawa had the worst record in showing compassion and restraint when considering that taxes should be set based on the private sector earnings rather than the abnormal city staff wage growth.
And I gotta go.
Okay.
Sorry, but next time you'll know the time exactly. And now, speaking for the councillors, Alex Collin.
Thank you, Elliot, and thank you all for coming out tonight. I think it's very important that we have a public discussion on the city's finances. This is your money, your tax dollars, and you have a right to know how that money is being spent. The debate tonight is supposed to be zero means zero, a phrase that was made popular in the last election by Larry O'Brien, who got elected mayor. Zero means zero is to mean that the city can maintain the same level of services without raising taxes. It's important to remember that the City of Ottawa budget of $2.1 billion has about $1 billion coming from property taxes. So, is it reasonable to expect in terms of maintaining services that you can do so without accommodating inflation, without accommodating growth, without accommodating legislative changes, without dealing with new programs? For inflation, you cannot buy less gas, or if you want to buy less gas, it means you're going to have less snowplow. If you're going to have growth, property taxes, the new property taxes do not pay for that growth. If you're going to deal with legislative changes, we can't refuse what the government of Ontario imposes upon us. And for new programs, for example, green bin recycling, that actually helps our city, our tax base at the end. So let's just walk ourselves through this. Can we deal with delivering services more efficiently. Well, it may surprise you to know that each year City Council imposes efficiency targets as part of its budget and counts it in before it sends out the tax bill. We're expecting to save $100 million over 3 years. That's a significant challenge, particularly when so much of our budget we cannot control. We can't control social services. We can't control auto police. We can't control public housing. We can't control child care subsidies. We can't control public health.